What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we're providing you a state of the market and stock picks for September 29th, 2022. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing, as we do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and the week ahead in this lovely market. Biggest thing today, I was really coming in today thinking we would just see red. But things change, and something I always try to remind everybody is things change overnight. What happened is the Bank of England gave the market hope. Quantitative easing, especially after just on last Friday, they were saying they needed to borrow money to pay for other debt, essentially that they needed. But they are going to buy bonds, which in turn caused our bonds to skyrocket this morning, and so that gave the market hopium that there could be some quantitative ease coming up for the markets. And again, somehow, some way, the market grasps onto this each and every time this comes out. And then you get Powell again, which again, he hasn't changed his tune and continues to hammer away on rates. Again think that rates are still going to go through the roof. I still think there's going to be a couple more. I think at this point, if the Fed dials back, they're going to be in trouble, especially because inflation is not dialing back. And understanding that this rotation in prices shooting through the roof. Yes, you get some relief in some departments, but then you get massive spikes in others, and this is the way inflation is. And so understanding that, again, rentals are flying through the roof, a basic necessity you need. So something you may have paid for, give out just a round ballpark number, just $1,000 a month for rent. Right now it's bumped up to $1,600, $2,000 a month. That's a huge cost to a lot of people in general. And so, being said, yes, you may have saved $30 at the pump. Yes, you may have saved $40 on food, but your rental unit has gone up way past what gas and what food has been at this point. And so now we're getting more reports about the housing sector continuing to stumble and fall off. And you got earnings coming up just at the end of this, after this month. Q3 is over, and then we'll have earnings in two weeks, and you're seeing massive layoffs in banks. And then you provide a little bit of hopium, and the market runs. Now, a lot of people are saying that potentially the PCE has some weight Friday. It could, to an extent, because of the fact that any hope is what the market needs. Because right now we've just got so much bad news. So we've got so much bad news up to this point that any kind of positive sentiment makes the market run. Again, that quantitative easing made the market believe that, hey, we're going to be okay. And I think a 75-point basis move was actually dialed back as far as a rate, what they expect. But everything being said, nothing is getting any better. The oil situation in Europe is continuing to get worse. Rumors of the UK oil pipelines could be potentially next. Again, you can only ignore what's going on in the world for so long. Yes, stateside, it's okay right now. You have to also understand there's a huge hurricane hitting Florida right now. All the resources, your lumber, commodities, all those things have come down. Now, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get a massive demand back into those supplies and those commodities and energy that it's going to push you back up, and you're going to get more inflation that way. Again, through a natural disaster and recovery, because this storm is going to hit all the way up the East Coast. And even though it may be losing strength along the way, it's still going to do damage to many places. So we will see. Well, we'll see what happens. Things just aren't going to get better overnight, and I think people tend to forget that. But not saying directly to everybody because of the fact that the market right isn't the economy, but you provide hope of quantitative easing in a market that's going to rally. Now, I've been talking this week, coming into this week, that we could have potentially get some sort of rally because we had a window in which we could run. And so, again, if we get a solid PCE, I could see us potentially run. I could see us running up to potentially roughly, I would even say 3,900 again, to put us right at that trend line before the next report, or whether that's the starting of earnings, or whether that's the next core, or maybe something else comes up that would allow the market to provide more hopium. Again, I don't see this as being a reversal. I see this as only prolonging what's about ready to drop, and considering what the situation is. You have to understand from my mindset and my experience in the markets, not many have actually lived through a good a situation like this in the markets. And so you can just look at old data and assume, but we don't know. And the way the market moves, again, is very misleading in a lot of different ways, and why technicals have been working out, why I've used supply and demand a lot, and why I use in events are huge and help me. They give me the edge in the market that I need, and a lot of patience. But with all that being said, right now we have to see. Again, you can't be neutral. We were breaking yesterday. We made a new yearly low yesterday, and then popped because of the quantitative easing that came out of the Bank of England. So whatever that really is, that may be temporary. Again, technical wise, we hit off a 250 EMA monthly mark, and we weren't getting a bounce, which was really concerning. And the fact we actually got a bounce today, but we are still holding within range. And so for me, this needs to break a solid body bar over 37.26 for me to believe that we're going to at least try to rally up to the 3,900. If not, again, we have that window before the next big data set or monetary policy or Powell events that we could potentially run for some sort of earnings rally before we could potentially sell and break this thing solidly on the next pull down. And again, this is a big thing, is that the fact that we almost try to break without even bouncing is a big concern. And that reason was the only thing that popped us up today, because initially when the market opened, it wanted to sell. There was a huge battle this morning in price action, and it wanted to sell. But then you got that news that dropped about Bank of England, and we started pumping. Now PCE, if it's really, really good, maybe we could start really pumping. I don't see a full reversal just because of PCE, because next thing you know, the core can come out and be higher than what it was. It can be back over 9.1, and then you're going to reset everything and actually break this level pretty easy if that does happen. Again, if we find that we haven't reached peak inflation, that is really going to drive fear. And be aware that it can change at any point. So even though we've got two that have slowly dialed back, again, the Fed cannot just ease up at this point. They have to make sure it comes down quite a bit before then. I would expect the market to try to get down to at least a 7 or 6 before the market, or before the Fed even start considering dialing back on rates at this point. Because if they dial back now, again, you aren't going to see the end of inflation. The inflation is going to spike again, especially with these hurricanes and stuff that are hitting. You're going to get a lot of demand on all this stuff again. Again, all these commodities. And so you're going to go through that whole cycle all over again and see what it's all about. So as soon as one thing seems to be fixed, it's something else. And that's what inflation is. And it takes a while for that to iron itself out. So again, we'll see. We'll see how we open. Again, we need to break this 36.15 solidly. Something on the weekly I've been talking about is we're really pinned. We broke, retested the 200. We're still sitting under that 200 on a retest. Um, it really depends on how we finish this week and how next week opens. If this is the retest on the 200 weekly, maybe next week's going to be the week that we push after that and make the break and retest um, of the 50 EMA monthly. So that is what's really concerning here. So again, we will see. We need news. Again, PCE I don't believe holds a lot of weight, but it can always surprise if it's really good. If it's really good, it can push the market up. And considering that we haven't had any positive news in a while, the dollar finally dialed back. Bitcoin is still holding around that 19K 500 mark. Oil is continuing to drop a little bit. But all these things are still very high. Even though they've dropped some, they're still extremely high. So just be mindful of that and be very careful with that. So again, bonds made that huge move this morning. That's what started to drive this. But again, it all depends on when we open. If we don't break that tomorrow, I think it's only, if not by Friday, that potentially Monday we could sell. If we do break up above, I think again we're going to revisit roughly around that 3,900 to test that trend one more time before coming back down, waiting for that event to unfold, whether that's earnings or whatever, before we make that decision whether we break or try to push back up again. So we will see, and that's kind of where we're at currently. Tesla again still holding that level, the 267 mark. I want to really see if again if we break that, Tesla's easy going to break that, and then we're looking at that 230, the 223 mark, and then potentially that 210 mark. So again, really watching this level. Again, if I think the market breaks, that's an easy break for Tesla and starts selling. So watching that. BA. Again, we could potentially retest, push. A lot of these things look like they want to push and try to retest. But we have to see. We have to see that every day has provided some piece of information that good or bad. It's been moving the market. The market's just been so extremely volatile. So again, we've sold heavily with no bounce. So we got some hopium today. We'll see how far that hopium does take us from this point. JPM, again, this does not look good. You had a clean, solid break, clean body bar below, looking for a retest potentially of the 112 before the next fall off is what that looks like on JP Morgan. And so now same thing here, clean break. Do we get a little bit of a push back up to the 305 before the next rollover and sell off? It could be a higher low potentially. So it really just depends on how this plays out on this leg. So really trying to watch that. Banks, again, really important to be watching during this time. Retest double bottom, just like on SPX. Is this going to be a push up here again, higher low, or is this going to be the turnover that breaks us? So again, this is why I stress that this particular week is going to be pivotal. This particular leg in general for the market's going to be pivotal in the information that or in events that unfold right around this time that is going to really determine if we are at a bottom and we just continue to rock back and forth around here until we find some momentum to the upside, or a black swan event plays out that sinks the market even further. So again, a lot of possibilities, and you have to be aware of all these possibilities. Try to play both sides and not just be a total bear or total bull, but to kind of understand what's going on and realize that stuff can change on a dime. And we saw that today with Bank of England. in their quantitative easing again, which was very interesting to see, especially when they've owed so much debt, and to see all the banks are just folding left and right. So this earnings is going to be, again, very eye-opening, I think, to a lot of people. What's going on? I think people are starting to kind of see that in general. But these earnings, I think, are really going to prove that. So, and I could be wrong. They could be really good, and then if they're really good, that could really drive the market into the back half of this year. And then we're fighting with policy at the same time. So it could be a bottom in general. Just depends, again, how things play out. If that's the case where earnings are good, that could be enough hopium to push the market up, and then you get more reason for Powell to come in with another 75-point basis move with inflation still running. And then you're going to keep playing this game of back and forth, and we may never actually break, but just keep bouncing back and forth. Again, just because of the way the current market sentiment is, and again, how the events roll out. So with all that being said, I do appreciate you watching this far. Go ahead and drop a like. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.